This week on Fish Ed, Jon explains how to dial in summertime trolling patterns that cover more water and catch fish faster than slower moving presentations.
There's one right there. Look at that. Oh yeah. Feels like exactly what we're looking for. This is kind of one of those deals where we're pushing the envelope. I wanted to do some trolling, and the fish are starting to scatter. They're starting to get spread out. It's that, midsummer time frame. It's a little early to be thinking about trolling cranks, but I'll tell you what, the live bait bites are starting to get tough now. And when that happens, and it happens because the fish start to scatter, because there's bait everywhere. And I firmly believe that when that happens, if you can start getting fish pulling cranks, it's going to help you immensely as far as numbers that you'll catch, because you're covering ground. But what I decided to do was just come out here and see if the trolling bite's ready to go. And we made a pass down and we're on the pass back up and we got hooked up. So, I've kind of felt watching these fish scatter on a lot of bodies of water here the last couple weeks. I've kind of felt that we're close. We're really close to this bite getting going. Great walleye to start our day. And you know what? This is proof right away that, yeah, we're there. It's time. And when you can get to this bite, when you can get to fish like this, it makes it a heck of a lot easier, and I'll tell you why. Because when it comes down to it, a little bit unprepared this morning, didn't have my pliers out. When it comes down to it, if you can cover ground and chase down scattered fish with a crankbait, man, you can put it on them pretty good on any given day. It's a great fish right there. Look at that, awesome way to start our day. We're gonna talk about trolling today, but what we're gonna talk about is starting that troll early in the year. Getting going on it long before everybody else is doing it. Midsummer. That time when everybody's still catching fish on live bait, and that transfer, usually most people aren't gonna make it until the end of July, beginning of August. Man, it's mid-July. And there's living proof right off the get-go that you can get fish trolling. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The adjustments I'm making to get fish trolling at this time of the year, where I'm finding them and how we're doing it. You put it all together and I'll tell you what, you can get going on this bite pretty early and you can get a lot of aggressive fish. There's one. I don't know how big he feels, but that's the other thing I'll tell you about this time of the year when you get started on these trolling bites. There's one thing that's really cool. Is a little bit later in the year, it seems like what you're going to catch the majority of the time on these crankbait bites are your bigger fish. But this is that time of the year where on your trolling bites, you can catch a little bit of everything. You're going to catch eater-sized fish. You're going to catch big fish. You name it, you're going to catch it. And it's because these fish are still eating so heavily, and there's not the maximum amount of bait in the lake yet that there's going to be in just literally a couple weeks. In a couple weeks, tons of bait's going to come off these shorelines. He's up on the surface here. We're just going to try to keep him up there. I don't like letting them get down. When they get up top, I like just bringing them slow and steady, because if you let them get down, that's when they get turned on you. Oh, it's a nice walleye. Here I am thinking that I've got something super little, but nice fish. Boy, did he want to eat that. He's got both sets of hooks in him. Awesome fish. Look at that, man, these fish are big and strong at this time of the year, and they're healthy. I mean, this fish, careful there, buddy. Let's both see if we can get through this without getting hooked any worse. Let's just get him unhooked in the net. Sometimes that's the easiest thing to do, is that right there. Just get him unhooked right in the net. Look at that, another great eye. That's awesome. Man, I'll tell you, that's fun. You're catching fish like that. That's just fun, but I'll tell you what, if I were live baiting right now, I'd be going a long ways looking for fish, okay? Because they've scattered out. So what I'm talking about is I might go 100 yards to bump into one or two of them, then another 100 yards to bump into one or two of them. I'm moving pretty slow, but what I'm doing here, because I'm flying, I'm going 2.1, 2.2, which is flying for this time of the year. I mean, this isn't your 2.4, 2.5 time, but here's the thing. I'm covering ground. I'm getting to those fish, and if you get to those fish, come across those packs of fish, you can make them bite. So that's the number one reason I'm doing this. That's why I pushed that envelope back when I was tournament fishing. If there was a way to be on a crankbait bite, I loved being on it because I was covering more ground, I was catching the active fish, and a lot of times I was catching the bigger fish. Ooh, there's one right there. Ooh, that feels like a good one. Yeah, it's, you know, they're all good at this time of the year because what's happened is they're eating so well. These fish are full. And when they get the opportunity to eat like they have, you know, headed into these summer months, man, they're all so strong. They don't just drag in. You know, there's a time of the year, we've all seen it, where you're trolling cranks and all of a sudden fish are just kind of dragging in. It's almost like they're tired, right? Well, that's got to do with water temps and a lot of different things like that. At this time of the year, while these water temps are still cool, these fish, they're still so strong and they're bulking up. One tip I'll give you, every fish I've caught so far is going against the waves. There are days that I firmly believe that makes a big difference. And it might be the case today because every one of these fish I'm catching, I'm going against the waves. And what that tells me is they're staged up facing a certain direction and they're seeing that lure coming. There's times where over the years I've been able to say for sure on any given day, I catch all of my fish going one direction. And I know that seems kind of goofy and it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna go the other way going back because the passes are short enough that it really doesn't matter. But I'll tell you what, when you start dialing that in, that's what you want to do, is just keep making sure that you make a pass or you continue making more passes going a certain direction, because what'll happen is all of a sudden you're finding fish going a certain direction and they're biting. I want to show you the lures I'm using really quick, okay? Because there's a progression that I go throughout the year. Now I'm fishing bomber lures today. I think bomber makes some of the best walleye lures in the world. And you know, they're a little bit overlooked. They're a big Great Lakes deal, but here in the Midwest, they're absolutely a little bit overlooked. And they shouldn't be because they're awesome lures. I want to show them to you here. I got a few out of the box, I got a few in the box, and I'm gonna show you what we're doing. This here is a Bomber 24A. That's what I'm fishing today. It's a little bit smaller profile. The idea behind this bait is it's got a fairly tight wiggle. It's kind of a medium wiggle, okay? It's got a nice high pitch rattle in it, and it's about the size of the bait fish in the system right now. You know, it looks like it could be a perch, you know, with all the great color patterns. It could be a shiner minnow. It could be a lot of different things. Awesome lures. This 24A. This one here is the 15A. This is a stick bait, big, wider wobble. Now, you wouldn't expect it with that small little lip, but this one's got a really big, wide wobble. Ideal for lead core, ideal for fall fishing. It's got a lot shallower dive curve, but it's gonna actually grab more attention when you're looking for that time of the year when there's all kinds of bait fish in the system and all the bait fish has gotten big and the fish start going shallow or they're deep and you're looking for a lead core lure. Awesome lure right here, this is 15A. And then there's one more, I've got it in the package over here. This is the deep long A 25A, okay? This 25A is going to dive somewhere down into the neighborhood of 20 to 25 feet, depending on what you're running for line. And ultimately, you can put this lure down there, have, again, a bigger wobble, get a bigger dive curve, and a little bit bigger profile size bait. Awesome lures, some of my favorites. Ooh, look at that. There's one right there. You can't take your eyes off it if you want to see every bite, because you know one thing about trolling, I'm always looking at that graph. I'm always looking around me, looking at, you know, where might I slide to next? We're right at the joint. You can see it right there. We're right at the joint between my lead and my My leader is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 feet. You know, you go 30, 40, 50 feet on your leader and that's plenty. That's all you need. You're just trying to get out away from that lead core a little bit. It feels like a pretty good fish. Let's try to get everything situated and ready to go. Not a giant, but a really nice fish. Ooh, look at that. They're so wound up at this time of the year. Just another great fish. You know, we've caught a lot of these today. What a fun day of fishing. It's just been one after another, and it's all about just getting dialed in. Dialing in with the color. Dialing in with everything from speed to a lure action, the color. And once you do that, you know what? You can put eyes like that in the boat all day long. Just get out and pay attention to the little extras that you got to do at this time of the year. You know, get dialed into that right spot. Stay close to those structures. Get that speed right, get the lures right, get the size right. Man, you can do this all day long.